News Live.
Hello, I'm Nadine Blaney. Welcome to Media Week, in fact, 2017's first edition. Ahead on the program, in the age of hashtag diplomacy and Twitter threats, we speak with the head of Twitter Australia, the MD, to see just how things are going locally. And it's game on in free-to-air TV with the flagship reality shows going head-to-head. James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek, joins us to take us through all of those stories and more. But first, SMI, or Standard Media Index, measures where media agencies invest on behalf of Australian advertisers. The data is much sought after by sales executives who use the intelligence to track the movement of money in the market. Most recently, SMI has been working with news publishers to reveal just how spending is moving from newspapers to their online publishing ventures. Joining us today is co-founder and managing director of SMI, Jane Schultz. Jane, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Nadine.
Look, last year News Corp CEO Robert Thomson said that the ad market is dysfunctional, and there have been some sort of questions being raised about the robustness of measurement systems. So how exactly does SMI gather its data and track ad spending?
For the SMI data, we take it directly from the payment systems of the media agencies. So as they pay a media company on behalf of an advertiser, we get that data. So it's actual real payment data. It's all then aggregated at the end of the month and put into the various media silos, be it TV, radio, whatever. And we can also see the data by 40 product categories as well. So it's actual ad spend data which makes it so unique. And then with the News Media Index, what we've been doing there is we're using the same system but working with the news media publishers, so News Fairfax, West Australian newspapers and APN, and the same thing, we're taking their actual payment data straight from their payment systems, bringing it all into a big software tank, basically, and creating a database for the industry, which is a world first.
Mm-hmm. Jane, Nadine quoted Robert Thomson then. He's also been pretty bullish about looking at how that ad spend's moving out of newspapers, print. Some of it, they're digital, some are going elsewhere in the media. You're working with publishers here. They're releasing that data. I just wonder sometimes they should have been doing this years ago instead of, it's almost a bit too late now, you think. But what are you seeing there? What is the trend with that movement?
Well, obviously there is a reduction in print and strong growth in digital. But what's really clear from the data is that the news media publishers are leading all media companies in terms of evolving their business models. You know, more than 20% of their entire revenues now come from digital, which is quite extraordinary because they are, you know, they're the third largest media in the country.
Yeah.
So, you know, that goes television, digital, and then the news media publishers. So for a full 20% of their revenue to be coming from digital is quite extraordinary.
Yeah, and the publishers are now pushing quite hard on that. Look, advertisers have abandoned the category too quickly. They point to we've talked a lot about the Facebook data that they don't think is that reliable, which seems to be getting some of the money that used to go to newspapers. Do you think they're right to push that barrow? So I guess you can't blame the advertisers too much or they might disappear completely.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one because, you know, in the News Media Index data that we create for the publishers, we can clearly see that direct advertisers, and they're basically small businesses who just buy directly with newspapers their own advertising, okay, they're maintaining, you know, a stable level of spend on print. So let's just talk print for a moment, not digital. It's still stable. It's in the agency market that the decline is taking place. And, you know, Robert Thomson is quite correct. You know, the percentage declines that we're seeing in agency ad spend on pure print is way out of proportion to the declines in sales of newspapers. So the audience is still there, but the amount that agencies are funneling to print is declining at a higher rate. You could argue, you know, their clients want things that are new and different. You know, maybe newspapers, the print version of newspapers are not quite considered as sexy to some advertisers. And, you know, at the end of the day, the agencies are just doing what the advertisers ask of them. But, you know, they are evolving the business through what they're doing with digital, and you know they are creating new opportunities for advertisers to access their wider audience both in print and online.
I think the quote was from Mad Men to Mad Metrics in the advertising agency. So do you see that trend just continuing through 2017, or are there other sort of forces at play that might turn some of that around?
Oh, look, it's going to be an interesting year this year because, you know, to maintain the level of demand we saw last year will be hard, simply because, you know, we had a huge federal election, like a very long federal election last year, which put, you know, an extra $80 million into the ad market. We had a Rio Olympics, we had a census, so, you know, there was a few one-off factors that abnormally grew our market. So, it'll be tougher this year for everyone because arguably the level of spend might not be just as high. But, you know, you never know. There could be some marketing war break out in the telco sector or the banking sector or in the retail sector, and there's a big flurry of ad spend. You know, you just don't know. So,
well, Telstra, after another outage today, could be putting some money towards some spend.
Yeah, we talk a lot about TV used to dominate the biggest chunk of ad dollars. I think it's is digital past it now, or is it's sort of equal, or it's
a bit hard
about
to know
surpass
because yeah, there's a lot of estimates involved in estimating the digital thing, because obviously Google and Facebook don't provide their data, and a couple of other, you know, the multinational digital companies don't provide their data. So it's really hard for the industry to accurately estimate exactly what's going on. But, you know, like, it's obviously big. Is it bigger than TV? Maybe. Yeah.
Do you think TV will hang on to its share? I mean, they're going to start fighting really hard now because they've got a new marketing body, and so they want on the front foot too. Yeah,
well, I think when you talk about this metrics debate, you know, TV's getting really involved in that because they have really great ratings metrics in OzTam. And so does digital have a similar level of robustness in its measurement of its audiences as well? And there's been lots of questions around that, you know, as you alluded to. So TV does have that in its corner, you know, having such a reliable audience measurement company as OzTam is really in their favour. And I think this year will be the year increasingly that advertisers really start to question advertising metrics, audience metrics. So what data should we believe? What's believable data? What looks a bit dodgy? You know, you already saw that this week with Procter & Gamble coming out and saying, you know, we're going to drill down onto everything that's being done with digital, and, you know, we want to make sure that we're actually paying for, you know, true audiences and not made up audiences, and not click fraud and all the other bits and things that can keep going on. So
yeah, and just quickly maybe to the trends for the future. Radio's down a little bit in your data, but I think overall, because of the size of their direct business, they seem to be holding on quite well.
We had them up for the year.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were up 5.5% for the year.
Yeah. So they've done a good job fighting that digital threat, haven't they?
Yeah. They maintain, I think, to the market that you know, radio listening is hard to be interrupted. You know, it's not like television or something where you can click through or block an ad or whatever. You know, their ads are unblockable. They've still got a really pristine advertising environment in the car, and yeah, they've done a good job of selling that.
And outdoor, I guess too. That's the other one we focus on. That's just been surging away, and you wonder if that level of growth can continue. You know. Yeah,
well, that will come down to the digitisation of the inventory. You know, it would have to be very digitised. All the premium outdoor inventory or big signs have been digitised, so it'll just depend on, you know, what the return on investment will be on digitising the smaller and less visible screens.
All right, Jane, thank you so much. Fascinating. Look forward to maybe touching base later in the year to see how it's all going.
No worries.
Jane Schultz, she is Managing Director and co-founder of SMI. We have to take a short break here on Media Week, but when we return, we'll see what the future holds for Twitter Australia. Perhaps we'll touch on some of these themes we've just been speaking about. Managing Director Susie Nicoletti joining us live here at the desk when we return.
How hard is it to find a home loan online? Sifting through so many different rates, what loans do you even qualify for? It seems impossible until now. Lendy does the hard work for you, instantly comparing thousands of home loan products from over 30 Australian banks and lenders to find the right home loan for you. No lining up at the bank or applying for the wrong loan. Now you can complete your home loan online. Just visit lendy.com.au. Whether you're buying your first home, refinancing for a great rate, or investing in property, Lendy allows you to compare all types of home loans from a huge panel of major lenders to choose the one that's most suitable for you. Next, apply for your loan online at Lendy, and if you need help, chat to a Lendy concierge who'll make your home loan settlement easy. Don't waste time doing it the old way. Compare, choose and complete online the easy way with lendy.com.au. Lendy, your home for home loans.
You're a successful professional. In life, you always strive for the best. So when looking for a serious relationship, why settle for anything less?
Get to know someone worth getting to know. Register today at elitesingles.com.au.
Finder.com.au.
Getting hammered with ridiculous interest on your credit card? Yeah, me too. But check this out. With Finder, you can finally make that change to a better credit card. Just drop in your balance and interest rate and Finder instantly calculates what the banks are offering.
Finder.com.au.
A couple of clicks could save you hundreds or thousands a year in credit card interest. One more click to apply. Make that change. Type it in.
Finder.com.au.
We're leaving our generation to join one that's moving us forward.
Where knowledge isn't limited by time or space.
And anyone can change the world from anywhere.
So we can keep our big city job without the big city.
We're doing things differently, seeing things differently, and we're just getting started. It's time for a new generation. It's time for Gen MBN.
Massage with a gorgeous mais all the fromage in the world. Délicieux. Cocktails by the pool. Et voilà, dinner in bed to rest my weary little legs. Oh, bonjour, handsome. What?
Go to luxuryescapes.com/TV for exclusive deals up to 70% off. Offers are limited. For exclusive deals up to 70% off, join free at luxuryescapes.com/TV.
News comes at us all day, on air, online, mobile, almost everywhere. On Heads Up, we'll sort out what matters. We'll talk to the newsmakers and share cut-through opinion, but best of all, we'll give you a heads up on what's hitting the front pages tomorrow. Join me, Sky News Live.
Welcome back to the program. It's great to have you here with us as Media Week begins its 2017 season. My co-host James Manning, editor and publisher of Media Week, is here. Also, Susie Nicoletti. She's former head of online sales at Twitter Australia and has been at the company for 3 years. Just last month, she stepped up to be MD for Australia, taking over for Karen Stocks. In her previous role at Twitter, Nicoletti looked after mid-market and small, medium business channels. Nicoletti has worked in Australia for 8 years. I should say Ms., spending that time in the online sector and working at Google in the US and here as well prior to Twitter. Welcome. Great to have you here. Thanks for making time for us. Look, I have to ask.
Yes.
Is all publicity good publicity when it comes to the US president using Twitter as his primary form of communication with his masses?
I think if we think about Twitter and what the intent of Twitter is, it's where people come together to talk about what's happening. And right now there's a lot happening with politics. So what you're getting with Trump is, you know, you're getting Trump putting his perspectives on Twitter, you're getting journalists, you're getting day-to-day people, you're getting other politicians. Everyone's coming together to debate and discuss. And so we actually saw this past weekend, 25 million tweets just out of some of his new policies that have emerged. The Women's March, again, 12 million tweets. So I think from a platform perspective, it's where people are coming to talk and share and discuss what's happening.
Yeah, so there's still plenty of volume. I mean, you hear a lot about the size of the Twitter audience and things like that. But the people who are on there's a lot of committed people who are still really into it and find it useful.
Absolutely. You get a very, very passionate audience on Twitter, and that's where people are really coming to connect and sharing their passions around what's happening in the world today.
So live sport was sort of being touted as the big growth driver for Twitter through 2017. Has any of that changed considering the political lay of the land, or is that still a real true focus?
No, we still have a really big focus on live sport. There's actually 2 partnership programs we're working with content providers on this year. So one is Twitter Live, and the other is actually Twitter Amplify, which we most recently did with Channel 7 around the Australian Open. Yeah. So each one is a little bit unique. With our Amplify product, what we're actually doing there, and that's actually where we start with most of our content partners, is we're taking their very, very best content, we're putting it in front of a highly engaged audience on Twitter, and we're allowing them to monetize this content with a 6-second pre-roll. So if we look to the Australian Open in the Amplify program we had going with them, it was successful in terms of generating reach. So we actually saw over 400% increase in video views. From a revenue perspective, which is another focus area, we had 7 brands coming on board to monetize. And from an innovation perspective, which is another core focus for us with our content providers, we actually had Clive Owen saying that he does see us now as a true strategic partner in our ability to grow, 7 everywhere total video views.
So it's interesting. So there's sort of 2 ways a media partner or sports broadcaster can use you, right, to promote their brand and their product, but then to bring in partners to help monetize that same content, yeah?
Correct.
So there's a win-win, dare I say, for them.
And also creating a good viewing experience for our users is also at the core of it. So definitely it's great for content providers, it's great for brands, but we ultimately want to have that great user experience. And I think that increase in video views really speaks to the fact that consumers were engaging that content and excited about it.
And so can you use that model when it comes to other forms of entertainment, drama, even politics? Or?
Well, we do have our Amplify program extending beyond sports. So we do have some packages out with My Kitchen Rules for entertainment, Bloomberg for politics. So it's not just unique to sport, but that model that we're implementing does work with content providers across a multiple range of industries.
And I don't know what your experience is, Nadine, but when I'm on Twitter, I don't feel like it's been over-commercialised, which you get that feeling with some other online products. But are you careful to guide your partners and make sure that the Twitter feeds, if you like, and streams don't become just sort of too much ad content?
Absolutely. So user experience is everything. And I think what makes our live and Amplify products so exciting is that we really put a lot of thought from both the content being produced and the brand and their intent. So if we think again, Australian Open, William Hill had a Chase the Ace campaign they were running. And so what we did is for every ace that happened at the Australian Open, that content was then produced in real time, and that Chase the Ace campaign was served over the top of it. So again, we're creating a very relevant and interesting and engaging experience while yes, monitoring how much advertising we're serving.
The innovations, you had a few of them last year, like things I liked. You could add photos that didn't chew into your character count, things like that. I think URLs, you could run a URL, then you could, and just sort of things like that made people using it a lot more enjoyable and you could get more out of it. Are there going to be sort of tweaks this year that'll excite you, you sort of power players?
Well, yes. We absolutely are focused on the core user. That's at the center of everything that we're doing. I don't have anything specific to announce today, but absolutely the consumer roadmap is incredibly important to us, and we've made changes even to our live products as we continue to iterate on them.
Yeah, and the size of your audience, I mean, do you think it's plateaued? Do you think is there plans? Do you think there's room for growth if you bring in new products or new innovation?
I think, yes, right now, audience growth is important. And again, the changes we make to the platform, like the ones that you mentioned, are core to that. But the thing we're really focused on, again, is that user experience, is thinking that Melbourne Cup and the fact that we can live stream that event, produce double the tweets and double the engagement. And again, that great content that we produced around the Australian Open, had an account with just 10,000 followers had 3.8 million views. So for us, there's going to be changes to the platform, which we think are going to drive user growth, and we're going to just keep focusing on that user experience and making it stronger.
How big is Twitter Australia? How many people are employed by Twitter in Australia?
We can't really speak to the specific numbers of the office, but we have had considerable growth. This particular year, we're streamlining our focus a little bit more to focus more narrowly with some of our content providers and just across the core products we think are going to drive growth. Is it
a sizable market? Can you rank it in terms of importance worldwide? Is it in your top 10? Do you think?
It is. I will say it is one of the core markets to Asia Pacific. Asia Pacific Pacific is growing 20% year over year, and 40% of our revenue comes from international. So international is definitely a core driver, and I would say Australia within Asia Pacific is very critical.
All right, Susie, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Susie Nicoletti, MD of Twitter Australia. Let's just, I guess, broaden out the conversation a little bit. It's been a while since James and I have had a chance to catch up. James, let's talk about some of the news out there in this space. I'm curious to get your take on Fairfax. We had the share price performing very well yesterday. Talk of a US suitor circling the company. What have you been hearing?
Not a lot. I think it was Platinum Asset Management or something. They've been mentioned before, I think, in... you know, and we've had sort of these things before where, you know, a corporate company, particularly in the US, has been identified as being a potential investor or something. Look, I don't know. I'm still hearing things about, you know, Nine and a Nine tie-up with Fairfax, you know. And then some subsequent asset sales. They're partners, of course, in Stan, the SVOD service, doing very well for both of them. So, you know, to me, that's as likely as anything else.
All right.
It might be out there.
Well, you brought up Stan, so perhaps we talk Presto, because really we're seeing the demise of Presto actually this week. So what is Foxtel, I guess, offering its customers in its absence?
Yeah, they've done a deal. And look, I don't think there was a whole lot of customers who would have been with Presto till the very end. I think they probably dropped off along the way as soon as that was revealed that, look, they would be closing down the service. But I think there's a $15 a month deal. You can get a basic Foxtel package that lasts for 3 months, and the price jumps another $20 to $35. So they'll be wanting to, you know, bring across the last of those customers who stayed with it till the end. And it's not a bad deal either. But we saw some data from Netflix during the week. I think 1 in 4 Australians now have access to a Netflix subscription, you know. So
that's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible
they're
growth.
pretty daunting stats, aren't they?
Let's talk brand finance, because it has released its list of where, you know, your favourite Australian brand ranks. Interesting. Where was Telstra on that list? Because, of course, Telstra having another network outage today. Still, though, one of the more respected brands in Australia.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Look, we're going to get someone in from brand finance, I think, to run us through some of that stuff. It'll be interesting, and just how they calculate that. So, yeah, Telstra did very well, of course, but all the big brands you would think near the top were the top. But it'd be great to get some insight in how they actually calculate that worth, and how much does consumer sentiment play into it.
And the big banks, the big four, interestingly, after the PR disasters of last year, really still topping that list.
Because they really only make the media when there's bad news, and they're always in there. But they're just the cornerstone of people's lives, and you depend on them for your.
Well, that 4 pillars policy, in Australia really coming through.
Absolutely.
Okay, shall we take a look at some of the subscription ratings, and this is for week 4, and we will begin with free-to-air. James, walk us through it, and it begins, I guess.
Look, a lot of tennis.
Tennis.
Yeah, look, the Australian Open Women's Final, #1 there. The men's final's not there because that'll be on the new data we get next week, of course, being on the Sunday night. The tennis led, look, 2 weeks that were great for not just for Twitter, but for Seven as well, so they did very well. News, of course, and the Big Bash was one of the good news stories for 10 over the summer.
Boy, we love our sport, but it was summer, that's for sure.
Yeah,
shall we go and zoom into week 4? And this is for subscription television. And you just can't take anything away from Family Guy and The Simpsons after all of these years.
Yeah, look, not a lot of sport at the top of the subscription TV. It's a bit of it tells you that they just can't get a handle on domestic sport in the summer, because it's the anti-siphoning list. It's all got to be on free-to-air TV. A-League popping up there, though, which did reasonably well. I think that was actually ranked number 6, the A-League. That's in that bottom half of the top 10.
Perhaps we'll see a bit of a shift in some of these rankings when it comes to free-to-air in the week to come, because, of course, we've got all of those reality formats going head-to-head. So we're talking Married at First Sight.
On night, yep.
We've got Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and My Kitchen Rules.
Very good, 3 out of 3. Look, My Kitchen Rules is blowing away the opposition again. It's great news for Seven. The downside is the numbers year on year aren't as good as they used to be. So Seven would like to see that build. It's early days yet. We've only had 3 episodes, so I'm not about to pass judgment on anything. 9 probably would have liked a few more viewers for Married at First Sight. Did very well on Tuesday this week. We might see that in the stats rerun next week. So there's certainly some good news there. And 10 started quite well too with I'm a Celebrity. You know,
Where are they again?
South Africa.
Okay.
Yep. They go back to the same place every year. Look, it can be a hard watch for some people because if you don't want to sit down and eat your dinner while you're watching an episode of when you see that sushi train, which they had this week, the Tucker Challenge. I can't get my head around that one.
Let's just go to the US for a second because 60 Minutes, so this is the US edition of 60 Minutes, has actually signed, wow, a heavy hitter.
Yeah, look, Oprah's going to crop up, so and I think...
Will we see her here?
Well, 10 have the content rights for 60 Minutes through their CBS deal in Australia. So I think if Channel 9 want to run an Oprah story on their 60 Minutes, they have to buy it off 10. And I'm just not sure yet if 10 have any plans that how maybe they could use that content better than on selling it to somebody else.
Okay, that's an interesting one. 7 Productions is selling Boy to Man, so this is a bit of an Aussie success story, isn't it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. It was commissioned, I think, for the Travel Channel, I think, in the US, one of the big cable channels over there. And it's just... it just shows how well 7 Productions is doing. 7's biggest shows, they make them in-house these days. That My Kitchen Rules, of course. There's, a US one, there's a New Zealand one, there's a UK one. The Australians run in about 160 territories.
Yeah,
so it's become a real revenue source for the 7 network.
And just very quickly, AFL... but the female version.
Yeah, the Women's League. Yeah, look, starts on Friday this week. I think Fox and 7 are both screening that. It'll be all over the radio as well. And I think we'll see some really interesting figures for that. And follow it on Twitter, of course, too, because AFL fans love their communicating about matches when they're underway.
We'll be looking out for it. James, great to have you back in.
Good to be here.
Thanks you so much. James Manning. That's all we have time for on this edition of Media Week from all the team here. Thanks for your company.